Welcome, beloved, to Priesthood Demand. This is the place where we unveil the profound spiritual responsibilities and the sacred realities that belong to every single believer called into the priesthood of Christ. Today, we're going to explore a subject that is absolutely foundational: obedience and priesthood. This isn't just a topic. It is the very heartbeat of effective spiritual service. Let's begin with the scriptures. In 1 Samuel 15, verse 22, the King James Version says, "Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams." Now, listen to how the Message version puts it. It's so powerful. It says, "Do you think all God wants are sacrifices, empty rituals just for show? He wants you to listen to Him. Plain listening is the thing, not staging a lavish religious production. That just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it?" So, what is the foundation of priestly obedience? Well, priesthood at its core begins with alignment. And alignment comes through one primary channel: obedience. A priest must be someone whose ear is finely tuned to the frequency of God's voice and whose heart is quick to respond without hesitation. Obedience isn't some optional add-on for the super-spiritual. No, it is the very system, the protocol through which God entrusts power, revelation, and His divine authority. Think about it. In the very beginning, Adam lost his authority through disobedience. He chose his own way over God's command. But then, fast forward to Jesus, He restored that authority, and how did He do it? Philippians chapter 2, verse 8 tells us it was through obedience, even to the point of death. The priesthood of the believer thrives and flourishes only where obedience is practiced as a non-negotiable principle. So, why does obedience matter so much in our priesthood? Let's break it down. First, obedience reveals your surrender. Priesthood is not about how busy you are for God. It's not about religious activity. It is about yieldedness. Your obedience is the tangible proof, the evidence that God's will has become greater and more important than your own. It's the ultimate act of saying, "Your way, Lord, not mine." Second, obedience positions you for divine instructions. It's a spiritual principle. God speaks more to those who are obedient. He entrusts His secrets to His friends, and friendship with God is demonstrated through obedience. The more you obey the instructions you've already received, the clearer His voice becomes for the next instruction. You start to recognize His tone, His prompting, His subtle nudges. It's like tuning a radio. Obedience clears the static. And third, and this is so critical, obedience unlocks spiritual power. Every priest that God used mightily in the scriptures carried this unmistakable mark of obedience. Look at the track record. Noah obeyed the seemingly absurd instruction to build an ark, and through his obedience, God preserved a generation. Abraham obeyed the call to leave his home, and through that obedience, God birthed a nation that would bless the world. Moses obeyed the command to confront Pharaoh, and through his obedience, God delivered the entire nation of Israel. And of course, Jesus obeyed the Father's will to go to the cross. And through His ultimate act of obedience, God redeemed all of humanity. There is no such thing as an obedient priest who is empty of power. Power follows obedience. Now, on the flip side, we have to consider the cost of disobedience. That same chapter, 1 Samuel 15, gives us a sobering picture. It shows us that disobedience disqualifies a person from priestly authority. King Saul lost his kingship not simply because he sinned, but because he willfully disobeyed a direct command from God. Disobedience breaks your spiritual ranking. It reduces your influence in the spirit realm, and it slams shut the doors of divine trust. God cannot trust someone with more who is unfaithful with what He has already commanded. Remember the Message Bible's translation? It calls the alternative empty rituals. That's what disobedience produces: powerless religion. It's just going through the motions without the substance of God's power. So, what are the marks of a truly obedient priest? How can you identify this in your own life and cultivate it? The first mark is sensitivity. You have to be able to hear when God speaks. This requires quieting the noise of the world, the noise of your own flesh, and tuning your spiritual ear to His voice. Are you sensitive to His leading? The second mark is promptness. Delayed obedience is a form of disobedience. When God speaks, the time to act is now. Hesitation often allows doubt, fear, and reasoning to creep in and talk you out of what God has commanded. A quick response demonstrates faith and honors God. The third mark is consistency. Obedience isn't a one-time event. It's a lifestyle of surrender. It's not about one heroic act of obedience, but about a daily, moment-by-moment choice to yield to His will in the big things and the small things. It's a consistent posture of the heart. And the fourth mark is sacrifice. Let's be real. True obedience will almost always cost you something. It might cost you your comfort, your personal preferences, your own timing, your plans, or even your reputation. If your obedience never requires you to deny yourself, you should probably question if it's truly obedience to God. So how do we grow in this? How do we cultivate a lifestyle of obedience? First, train your spirit. You do this by spending consistent, quality time with God in prayer and in His Word. The more you are immersed in His presence and His truth, the more your spirit is strengthened and conditioned to obey Him easily, almost instinctively. A trained spirit doesn't argue with God, it simply complies. Second, practice with small obediences. God will never trust you with leading nations if you can't obey a simple instruction to apologize to your spouse, to be generous with your time, or to spend that first 15 minutes of your day with Him. Be faithful in the little things. Prove your trustworthiness in the small instructions, and He will entrust you with more. Third, you must kill self-will. This is the great enemy of the priesthood. The cry of the priest's heart must always be, "Lord, not my will, but yours be done." Self-will is constantly fighting for the throne of your heart. You have to make a conscious decision to dethrone self and enthrone Christ in every area of your life. And finally, submit to spiritual authority. God has placed leaders and authorities in our lives for our protection and growth. An unsubmitted priest, someone who is accountable to no one, becomes a dangerous priest. Find godly leaders you can submit to. It's a safeguard and a catalyst for your own growth in obedience. Let me leave you with this final charge. Your priesthood is only as powerful as your obedience. That is the measure of its effectiveness. The world around us is desperately waiting for priests whose radical submission to God becomes the very channel for His supernatural power to flow. Today, I want to encourage you to go before the Lord and simply ask Him for the grace to obey fully, to obey quickly, and to obey joyfully. Thank you so much for joining today's deep dive into obedience and priesthood. If this teaching has blessed you and stirred your spirit, please show your support. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone else who needs to hear this message. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss another teaching from Priesthood Demand. God bless you, and may He strengthen your priesthood this week.